We're at the Nordic Game Indie Night here in Malmö, Sweden, and I think a couple of kilos lighter after sweating it out here with the rest of the gamers here. We caught up with a couple of game developers who wants us to go back to bed. And could you tell us a little bit about the concept for this game?
Yeah, well, the concept is that our premise of the game is that you have to guide Bob, who's a sleepwalker and has narcolepsy, so he falls asleep in inconvenient places. So you have to guide him back to his bed. That's the main premise of the game. And you control his subconsciousness, called Sub-Bob. And because you control him, Bob's dreams and reality kind of spills together and creates this unique environment, which is created or inspired by numerous artists. And Adrielle did the art direction on the game, and she can tell you a lot about which kind of artists were used and all that stuff. But yeah, that's the main premise of the game. The genre is classic puzzle, and we have and that's just the game, yeah. So it's about saving Bob the sleepwalker and getting him back to bed.
So would you say that his dream world, is that sort of your artistic sort of vision coming through in that sense?
Yeah, you could say that in a way.
What has inspired you in sort of designing these dreams?
Well, it's very much the surrealistic paintings from the 1920s and 30s that has been a big inspiration in this game. Many of the paintings are very dreamlike, and there are some very funny elements in it that I wanted us to have in our game as well.
Is it specifically referencing certain works of art, or have you kept it more general, where there's ideas that you found in works of art, or how have you dealt with it?
Well, I think maybe you can see some of the artists that I have been inspired from in the game, but I wanted it to be kind of its own and not only inspired by this or this artist. So it has its own style, but it has been inspired by all of the surrealistic artists during time, I think.
So I understand that this project is actually a student project, and that you were a whole team working on it. Could you tell us a little bit about what the work was like, and sort of how long you worked on it? And
yeah, well, it was during this course called Daddy, and the game itself took 6 weeks to produce, from like bottom and no idea, nothing at all. Just then we started 6 weeks later. Then we ended up with this. We were 16 people. We had like 6 programmers, an audio designer, a level designer, game designer, art director, game designer, 2 animators, 2 CG artists, and then a project manager who had to like control the whole thing. And then we kind of just very intensely sat down and created the game through 6 weeks. Yeah, more or less. And now with this, like what we ended out with, this demo, now we're kind of trying to see if we can push it a little bit further and develop it even more, expand the game like what this has done, and like make a fully grown game, which we intend to publish later this year, and perhaps also port it to a tablet. Yeah, well, but yeah.
So how would you want to expand from this game that you have here today? Like, what is it that you want to expand?
We're going to have some new environments, but they are going to be inspired by the surrealistic paintings as it is now. But at least 2 more level types or in new environments, yeah. So that is the goal, and some new enemies.
What's the main, when you do a game in 6 weeks, because a lot of these indie developers here, they're like, Well, we'll maybe be done in a year. We don't know. We're working on the game. It's done when it's done. It's a very different premise than working on a game where you have to be finished in 6 weeks. What kind of compromises do you have to do, and what's the main challenge there?
Yeah, well, you said it yourself. Like we have a lot of compromising. So the main thing that was important when we started was that we made a game that was scalable. That we didn't have to make a game that couldn't be finished in 6 weeks. We made it scalable, and then said that if we get this right, then we can always scale it later. And it was also kind of important for us to have a high production value, make a product that just didn't look half finished, but was polished in the end. But along the way, a lot of compromises had to be done. It's always the designer wants to have more gameplay in it, and the art director wants to have more art, and it's
your job to stop the fighting.
Yeah, exactly. I had to okay, well, how can we make both teams parts happy, and that's the whole. That was my main task during the game, was to control the different parties.
So is this version available somewhere, or are you keeping that hidden until you release the full thing?
www.backtobed.daddygames.dk, where you can play the demo and download it for free and try it, and give us feedback if you like. That's the demo, and we just want everybody to play it, and then when we're down during this summer, we're gonna expand the game, and then we're hoping to release it on perhaps Steam or the App Store and other things. So that's the idea.
And then you'll transfer from being students to being professional game developers.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.